Now that our trade deadlines are past, the most important thing to get right is your starting lineup. We're going to go through, we're going to rank all these wide receivers for week 13, try to give you the best idea possible about who we need at wide receiver 1, 2, and that flex spot. But before we get into it, make sure you go down there, drop a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them down there in that comment section. And in that comment section, you can find a link to Underdog Fantasy where there are all these cool player props. And when you sign up for Underdog with promo code FLOCK, they're going to match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to 100. So it's essentially free to check out. And on top of this, only with promo code FLOCK are you going to be getting a free Patrick Mahomes bet this week going up against the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm no mathematician, I'm no expert, but I bet you we will have at least one passing yard. Take advantage of that. You can find the link in the comment section, available in damn near every state. But that should be it. Let's go through. Let's dive into tier 1. We're going to go Diggs, Jefferson, Adams, Tyreek, tier 1. Let's get these guys out fast because obviously if you have them, you're starting them. Now we have had, Tyreek Hill at that one spot for quite some time. Like Tyreek Hill in most weeks is probably going to be our number 1 wide receiver. The reason we're deciding to move him down a bit here is because he's going up against the 49ers. Now this 49ers defense has been phenomenal. Back-to-back weeks here, shutting down teams. The New Orleans Saints did not score a single point. I made a fool out of myself of telling everybody to play Chris Olave, play Alvin Kamara, and I apologize for that. Obviously, the San Francisco 49ers defense is probably the best in the league next to the Dallas Cowboys. Now, with the other wide receivers in this tier, if you wanted to go Justin Jefferson at 1, I'm fine with it. If you wanted to go Stephon Diggs at 1, I'm fine with it. They both have tough matchups as well, going up against the Jets as well as the New England Patriots. That's why we're doing this as tier list, because I think that you can make an argument that you want any one of these wide receivers ranked ahead of the other, but it really is just going to come down to your personal preference. You're starting them all anyway. Dropping down to our next tier, we're going to go Jamar Chase at 5. With Chase, if he plays, which I'm going to assume he will, keep in mind, we thought that last week too, but assuming that Jamar Chase plays, for the love of God, put him in your starting lineup. Going up against the Kansas City Chiefs, this is going to be a phenomenal spot. They're going to have to go through, they're going to have to throw the ball to keep up with this Kansas City Chiefs offense. Let me go through and pull up team totals for this week because I'm going to operate on the assumption right now that Vegas probably has, I want to say, the Chiefs-Bills game as the highest total of the week. And looking at this, sitting at 52.5 points. The next best game is going to be that Jacksonville and Detroit Lions contest if we're looking for points scored. This should be a shootout in Cincinnati. Obviously, since he has been coming back from some deficits here against Kansas City Chiefs. Super excited to watch the game. Super excited to play Jamar Chase. And at 6, we are going to go CeeDee Lamb going up against the Indianapolis Colts. Lamb has been significantly better since Dak Prescott came back into this Dallas Cowboys offense. Obviously, the main issue is the Dallas Cowboys don't have to throw the ball in the second half. The Dallas Cowboys, if it's not for the 49ers, have the best defense in the entire NFL. This week, the largest spread of the week is going to be between the Dallas Cowboys and the Indianapolis Colts, sitting at 11 points. So I would love to move Lamb a little higher than this, but the issue is they're going to be running the ball in the second half. But down to our next tier, we're going to go Amon-Ra St. Brown at 7. And with St. Brown, I think you can make a very strong argument that you want to have him up there with Jamar Chase, with CeeDee Lamb. As we just got done discussing here with the Jacksonville-Detroit game, it's supposed to be the second highest scoring game of the week, according to Las Vegas Sportsbooks right now. I've said this a million times. I'll say it again. Las Vegas Sportsbooks, they know more than you. They know more than me. They know more than all of us. That's why you can't find someone that is a professional sports bettor and has done that for a large sample as their main source of income. Now you can win in fantasy football leagues because you're playing other bums in your league. You're not going up against these Vegas sports books. But anyway, with St. Brown, they're telling us that this is going to be a super high scoring game. Clearly a wide receiver that's been dominant with the target volume. Hell, he's a wide receiver that we should assume that he scores a touchdown more times than not based off of what we had at the end of his rookie season as well as at the beginning of this year. Super excited about him. Now at 8, we are going to have Jalen Waddle. And you know what pains me to put Jalen Waddle this low? Jalen Waddle, my most drafted wide receiver this season. But he's going up against San Francisco, just like we talked about with Tyreek Hill. Even if I want to rank Waddle as the top 5 wide receiver every week, he's been pretty damn close to that. I think we need to be a little, and I repeat, just a little concerned about this Miami Dolphins offense. I mean, right now they're about 4 to 4.5 point dogs, depending on the sports book that you're looking at right now this week. Now, going over to 9, we're going to have A.J. Brown in a revenge game against the Tennessee Titans. I mean, obviously, this is going to be a big storyline that we have here, I will say. I mean, in the NFL, revenge games aren't that big of a deal. In the NBA, if you're playing like an NBA fantasy, they actually do matter a decent amount because, I mean, a player in the NBA can dictate their usage. A player in the NBA, when they get the ball, they can shoot it if they really want. In the NFL, the issue is obviously gaining that separation, getting the target in your direction. So, I mean, with quote-unquote revenge game narrative, not buying too much into it. A.J. Brown, elite level wide receiver, though. Have no Dallas Goedert on the offense. You are going to get a considerable amount of target volume. Now, at 10, we are going to have Amari Cooper. With Amari Cooper and the Cleveland Browns, I am very excited to watch this revenge game as well. We have Deshaun Watson going up against the Houston Texans. I don't think the NFL did this just by coincidence. But with Amari, you get Deshaun Watson back in. It's a decent matchup against this Houston Texans defense. I will say with Deshaun Watson, while I think he's a quarterback that has the ceiling to be a top 5 quarterback rest of season here, maybe he has a little rust his first game back in. Clearly hasn't played a real NFL game in forever. He didn't look good in the preseason. I don't think that's something you have to be too worried about. I mean, it obviously is something that we need to at least be monitoring. But I don't know. I'm just going to be watching this very closely. Now, dropping down to our next tier, we are going to have T. Higgins at 11 in that potential shootout against the Kansas City Chiefs. Obviously, if you were to have no Jamar Chase this week, you're going to move T. Higgins up further than this, but I think you have to lock and load him as a top 12 wide receiver almost regardless because of this matchup. And then we're going to go Chris Godwin at 12. Now, with Godwin, he had been on God knows how many buy low wide receivers video for us this season. I will say it's a better matchup for him than it's going to be for Mike Evans because with Evans, he's having to go up against Marshawn Lattimore. We've seen him historically struggle in that matchup. We'll get to Evans in just a bit. I mean, both these wide receivers are seeing consistent target volume and an offense that has, I mean, just a ton of pass attempts to go around. But now dropping down to our next tier, we're going to go Christian Kirk in a bounce back game here going up against the Detroit Lions, supposed to be the second highest scoring game of the week. With Christian Kirk, I mean, we were wrong on him last week. We were very excited about him a week ago. Clearly, that did not work out, and I owe you an apology for that. But I'm going right back to the well here with Christian Kirk. I think that he is a player we can go through and buy the dip on. Now, 14, we are going to have Keenan Allen going up against the Raiders. With Keenan Allen and the Los Angeles Chargers, I think that this offense is actually going to be better going forward now that they're getting these wide receivers back in. I am making this Keenan Allen ranking with the assumption that Mike Williams does not play. Now, of course, if Mike Williams were to play, you're going to move Keenan Allen probably to the bottom of this tier or to the top of the next one. But going over to 15, we are going to have both the Seattle Seahawks wide receivers. We are going to have DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. My main concern with this game is I think Seattle's going to be able to effectively run the ball. I mean, if you're looking at the Seattle Seahawks offense, we know that they want to run. If they have the opportunity, that's what they would prefer to do. They're favored by about 7.5 points in this matchup as well. So I think we're going to see a lot of Kenneth Walker this week. Now, our last wide receiver in this tier is going to be Chris Olave at 17. I know that Andy Dalton looked horrendous a week ago. I know we told everybody to go through and to play Chris Olave a week ago, and it didn't really work out. Going right back to the well. I think that it was primarily due to the matchup that we had going up against the 49ers. I think the Saints offense should be significantly better this week, and you can still start Olave. But dropping down to our next tier, we're going to be led off with Mike Evans in that horrendous matchup going up against Marshawn Lattimore, and also with Evans. Hasn't been good as of late. I mean, Mike Evans has been a wide receiver consistently struggling. Now, I do want to just put some hope in the air for all Mike Evans owners. This is a wide receiver that had 9 targets a week ago. If we look at over the past 5 weeks, Evans has been getting close to 10 targets a game. Mike Evans is a wide receiver that in 2020, as well as in 2021, led the NFL in touchdown rate. I think very similar to how we were calling Chris Godwin a buy low candidate earlier on in the season. I think there's that buy low moment, that buy low opportunity right now with Mike Evans. Maybe he is going to struggle this week, like we said, because he has that very tough matchup going up against Marshawn Lattimore. We know how this usually works out, but I still want to go ahead and play Mike Evans as that mid-wide receiver too. Now going over to 19, we're going to have Deebo Samuel in possibly one of the best games of the week going up against the Miami Dolphins. With Deebo Samuel, we've talked about it time and time again. The issue is there are too many cooks in the kitchen. You get Christian McCaffrey in here, and now you have CMC, Deebo, Ayuk, and Kittle. I don't know. We'll get to Ayuk in 1 second. Now, at 20, we have Garrett Wilson. Wheels up with Mike White for Garrett Wilson. I think you have to rank him as that top 24 wide receiver. I mean, I would like to try to go through and get Garrett Wilson even higher than this. If you're looking at the spread of this game between the Jets and the Minnesota Vikings, obviously the Vikings coming out of a very impressive win against the New England Patriots, but the Vikings are favored by about 3 points. Should be a competitive contest. Let me know what you think about Garrett Wilson here. I mean, I don't know if this is still the case, but at the time that we went and looked at the player props when they first got put out on Underdog yesterday, Garrett Wilson was put at 50.5 receiving yards. And yes, Underdog still has Garrett Wilson at 50.5 receiving yards. I definitely like the more than on that line. Of course, if you want to go check that out, you can find the link in the live chat. You can find the link in the description. Find the link in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, 100% deposit match. Go take advantage of the Garrett Wilson 50.5 receiving yard mark, as well as the free Patrick Mahomes bet that we're going to be able to get y'all this week, only with promo code FLOCK. Well, let me know if you think we should have him higher than this. I mean, that Underdog line's kind of scared me off it a bit. We're going to go 21, Brandon Ayuk. Very similar to what we said with Deebo Samuel. Very talented player. Very good offense. But you have no idea who's getting the ball any given play because there are so many names in it. And then our last guy here is going to be Michael Pittman. Michael Pittman, we actually had, I believe, ranked a little higher than this past week, if memory serves correct. But the issue is, I mean, this week in particular, going up against the Dallas Cowboys, it is a very tough matchup. I mean, in this Cowboys matchup, we probably would prefer to try to bench every Indianapolis Colts player we can. Obviously, you're still starting Jonathan Taylor. You're still starting Michael Pittman, but I do have my concerns. Now, going over to our next tier, we're going to have 23, Juju Smith-Schuster. So in Kansas City this past week, I mean, obviously, they boat raced the Rams. Never going to be a competitive game. But Mahomes still had 47 dropbacks. I have no idea what they're doing with Patrick Mahomes here. I don't know why they feel the need to just rack up so much passing volume. This will be a competitive game. This hopefully will be a shootout game where, like we said, it has the largest over-under of the week. They spread the ball out a ton this past week, but you should have no Kadarius Toney. You should have no Mecole Hardman. I think you can start Juju. 24, we're going to have Devonta Smith in that matchup against the Tennessee Titans. With Smith, no Dallas Goedert, getting consistent target volume. I mean, last week, obviously, the Philadelphia Eagles ran all over the Green Bay Packers. I think Tennessee tries to shut down the run. 25, we are going to have Terry McLaurin. I honestly don't know if I want to rank him this high even. If I'm going to be honest here, I mean, if you're looking at the points per game for Terry McLaurin so far this season in a half PPR format, you're going to see that Terry McLaurin is significantly lower than this in points per game. By significantly, I mean by 5 or 6 spots. Okay, so we are helping Terry McLaurin out here, even if you think we're too low on him. And then at 26, we're going to have our guy, Christian Watson, has been crushing it for our best ball teams. Could not be more excited about that. But if we're going to be real with ourselves, if we're going to be honest here with Christian Watson, the man has averaged 1 touchdown for every 2 receptions over the past 3 weeks. Now, maybe this means they're going to get him the ball a little bit more, but I can tell you one thing for sure. This efficiency is not going to keep up. I really hope it does. I am praying that Christian Watson continues to give us this. I would be a little hesitant. I mean, obviously, if Romeo Doubs makes it back in, you're actually going to drop him lower than this. But we're going to go Gabriel Davis at 27 with Gabe Davis, boom bust wide receiver, and possibly one of the best offenses in the NFL. Very tough matchup going up against the New England Patriots. However, as we've already discussed, I mean, this is being played in New England where the Patriots are about 4.5 point dogs here. Now, going over to our last wide receiver in this year, we're going to have Courtland Sutton at 28. Y'all know I do not like Courtland Sutton, but I'm sorry. We still have to rank him as a top 30 wide receiver in any individual week. You have no Jerry Jeudy. Any individual week, we have no KJ Hamler. You have no Patrick. I mean, everybody's gone here. To think we are saying Courtland Sutton the most overrated player in fantasy football this season, and then every wide receiver in his offense gets injured and he's still bust. Pretty damn good call. But dropping down to our next tier, we're going to go Joshua Palmer at 29. With Palmer, I'm going to have a very difficult time ranking him because this is a wide receiver where I'm hesitant to just assume what happens with Mike Williams. I would say if Mike Williams gets ruled out early in the week, then Joshua Palmer, you can move him up from this point, but I don't want to rely on Joshua Palmer. Then Mike Williams comes in. What may be a little frustrating is this Los Angeles Chargers game isn't going to get kicked off until about 3 or 4, depending on your time zone. So it's tough with this being in the later slate of games. And then at 30, we got to put Zay Jones in here. Zay Jones dominated a week ago in Jacksonville. Zay Jones should also be in a very good spot with the matchup going up against the Detroit Lions. I think you can make a very fair argument that we're too low on Zay Jones here. And please, if you think we are too low on Zay Jones, go down to the comment section. Let me know where he should be because, hell, if we look at what you had last week and the matchup, I feel like we probably need to move him up here. But that's all I got for you. Of course, thank you so much for checking out the video. If you enjoyed it, go down there, drop that like, subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. If you want to check out any of these player props on Underdog, if you want to go look at the Garrett Wilson 50.5 receiving yards mark, if you want to go look at only for people who use promo code FLOCK, the free Patrick Mahomes bet 0.5 passing yards this week. Go to the link in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK will also get you a 100% deposit match available in damn near every state. But thank you again. I appreciate you. I hope you have a great day and hope we get to see you in the live stream tonight.